Hey, how you guys doing today? Here with my little guy, right? We're just having a nice lazy day. Here, I'll show you. Hey, Mario. Oh, big yawners. Little guy. Yeah. Having a nice day. It's raining out, so I figure it's a lazy day for us. My hair today, oh, pretty good James Dean kind of thing going on over here. And then you look over here, and it's like one flew over the cuckoo's nest, like I'm looking on an insane asylum. I'll probably have a shower later today, but well, what do you do? The I think the big thing I'd like to talk about today is that kind of classic rift. Like I've been focusing on the basic income for 10 years now. I've been looking at the basic income and talking about it. And the number one thing, even now in the middle of this pandemic, as people are receiving a basic income, I'm getting, won't people just be lazy, right? Won't people just be lazy? And it's something that a certain segment of the populace is never going to give up on, right? Won't people just be lazy, right? And the more I look into it, the more I think about it, the more I dwell on it, the more I come to see, like, first of all, what a huge insult, right? What a massive insult to lay at someone's feet. And what a major success of kind of the capitalist propaganda machine, right? Because the easiest way to dismantle this argument is simply by asking the question to the person who's saying it, well, would you be lazy? And never once in the entire time that I have been talking to people about the basic income has somebody said, oh yeah, I would just be lazy. I'll just sit around, right? So it's always someone else that will be lazy, but I will not be lazy, right? It's a major, major success of capitalist propaganda to insert in the society a belief that other people will be lazy, but you will not be. You are a productive citizen who will put their energy in a proper way, i.e., sell it to a market that's owned by billionaires. But other people, well, they're just lazy, rapacious kind of people. So it's this embedded mistrust in the society and in other people, in your neighbors, in your coworkers, in your associates, in your family members, even. It's this incredible mistrust that has been embedded in the society and that I think needs to be dismantled, right? That generally speaking, people do want to seek out productive avenues. It's just that their level of productivity or what they want to do uh, in order to improve the society around them and in order to do these sorts of things doesn't directly benefit a capitalist class. If you don't sell yourself into a market owned by billionaires, then you must be lazy. It must be the case. And the evidence against this kind of thinking is enormous, right? It's this huge. You begin to ask the question, well, what is productive? Like, what is productive? I like using sports as an analogy because the capitalist class and the conservative style people like to use sports as an analogy to justify their hierarchy argument. But then I look at sports and I go, okay, so your argument is that only selling yourself into a market is productive activity. Oh, okay, so putting a ball into a hoop, or hitting a ball with a stick, or throwing a ball into an end zone, or kicking a ball into a goal, those are all productive, right? That's productivity right there. Certainly that isn't just worthless distractionism, right? Something for people to pour their energy into. I shouldn't say worthless. Like I don't want to be denigrating like that. I think the people that enjoy those sorts of sporting events and the people that enjoy that kind of stuff. But certainly we can all agree that if suddenly, and I mean, when this pandemic started, the first places that closed down were the sporting institutions. They shut down immediately, right? Because they're the definition of non-essential. And the society can support them. The society can support not only the players, but the coaches, the managers, the marketing, the merchandising, the selling of tickets, the gathering of people, all of this kind of stuff, the food sales, so on and so on and so on and so on and so forth. They're an attraction. And the society can support them. So certainly the society can support other people and other organizations and other individuals pursuing other kinds of activities. The one I get all the time is, well, people will just play video games. They'll just sit around and play video games. This is like as out of touch a statement as I think can be said. Video games are a multi-billion-dollar industry, right? Fortnite. Fortnite. The winner of Fortnite tournaments get hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? This is a major event on the same level as throw ball and hoop, right? And people got out on the streets when here in Toronto, when we won the throw ball and hoop tournament, right? It's just that people. So when people are saying, "Oh, people will just be lazy or they'll just play video games or all this kind of stuff," what they're actually saying is, well, people will just participate in an activity that I personally don't value. I mean, can a more worthless statement be made? Can someone say something that is absolutely less valuable than that? That, oh, well, you are I don't know, building models. I don't know. I'm just pulling stuff out of my head. Like you're just building models, or you're playing guitar, or you're doing some activity that I personally don't value, and that you certainly can't sell to a market dominated by a small handful of billionaires. So it must be lazy, right? What possible value could that activity hold? And then suddenly you turn around and, like, for every example that they can give you, you can look and you can say, like, well, what the hell are you talking about, right? We put paintings into museums, you know, like musicians are considered some of the highest form of our culture. The video game people, it's very odd that, like, nobody is going to say that, like, Bobby Fischer is lazy, right? Sorry, I just threw something for my dog. It made more noise than I thought. Like, nobody's going to say that Bobby Fischer is lazy, but he's playing a game, right? Chess is a game. and nobody's going to say that Tiger Woods is lazy, but he's literally playing, like, a game. It's golf. Like, no one's going to say that these people are lazy. They're just dedicating their time to something that you consider, or you've at least accepted, as somehow valuable. And I genuinely think that what's happening is people are looking at people who are struggling in a capitalist style system, and they're seeing what they're doing in their leisure time, the small amount of leisure time that they're allotted, and they're extending that to the eternal, right? They're saying, like, oh, well, anytime I see this guy, all he's doing is sitting at home smoking weed, playing video games. It's like, yeah, because he just got his ass kicked at work, right? He just got his ass kicked selling himself into a market, and he can't, and so he needs a moment to relax, and the thing he's chosen to do is play this video game. And yeah, every time you see him, he's doing that because he's attempting to escape from a system that's actively attempting to waste his time, dominate, and destroy him. So yeah, absolutely. And I can, Charles Barkley actually gave this really interesting interview about what it was like to retire from basketball. And this is a familiar thing that you hear about people who retire from the capitalist economy. That, oh, they're busier now than they've ever been, right? I every time I talk to a retired person, I'm yet to find a retired person that's like, I just sit on the couch and watch TV all day. They're always getting busy doing the things that they wanted to be pursuing in the first place, right? They're busy cracking at it. And Charles Barkley gives this great interview where he says, like, "Oh yeah, the first month I had off. Oh, that's good, buddy. Thanks, buddy. My little guy's seeing a little bird, right? Oh, isn't that right, Milo? Birds, they're scary. The first month I had off was great. I just sat on the beach, drank some Mai Tais, right? Relaxed. Then the second month rolled around and I was kind of like, okay, this is still good, I guess, sitting around. But by month 3, I was like, okay, come on, we gotta get moving. Let's do some stuff. I gotta participate in something. I gotta do it. And I think that that's just embedded in the human psyche. People get bored, right? I know for myself, like the first month I had off and I was in this kind of in this quarantine state, I was like, okay, cool. I'll just play some video games, right? Watch some movies, all this kind of stuff. And then, it started to length out and, I haven't been in quarantine that long and now I'm already like, okay, can we do something? Can we get at something? Can I make something? Can I create something? Can I craft something? And I think you're seeing that story repeat itself over and over and over and over and over again, right? People get batty. People get like sequestered and weird and And I think it is worth talking about. Like, we know, like everybody knows a person who's like on the couch smoking weed, right? Everybody knows that individual. And I don't actually want to pretend like it's not going to happen, right? Like, I do think that there is going to be a very small percentage of the population that is going to be on the couch smoking weed or drinking booze or doing all that kind of stuff. And why do I know that? Because they're there already, right? Capitalism didn't solve that problem, and a basic income isn't going to solve that problem either. But you know what a basic income is going to solve? You know what a basic income is going to solve? A basic income is going to solve the people living in the street. And the thing I keep saying is that I wish that while we were having this conversation, we would care more about the people living on the street than we do about the people living on the couch. And I feel like the people who are living on the couch are going to pay their own they're going to pay their own costs for that, right? That we as a society have said to them, okay, you have the freedom to do what you want, and their choice is to squander it. Or, if you choose to frame it differently, I think that there are some people whose hardest task and whose hardest job is actually dealing with themselves. I think that there are people living in the world who really do struggle and who, but not struggle selling themselves into a billionaire-dominated market, but who rather struggle simply with the day-to-day existence of being themselves. And that's something I wish that we would respect more. That when we see it externally and we look at them, we see this person sort of just, sitting on the couch. But the internal struggle that exists within themselves, within their own mind, within their own consciousness, is vast. And these kinds of individuals who are trapped in that kind of environment or that kind of place, they're trapped in a prison of their own mind. And I understand that we don't want to facilitate that. We don't like the idea that these people will trap themselves in such a way, and that we will pay financially to facilitate that. But they're trapped there to begin with. And our hesitation to move forward with a policy that sure may enable this small percentage of the populace has costs for people who are living on the street. That if we care about a person who's just going to waste their time or be lazy sitting on a couch because they have a mental issue that they can't get through, right? Well, then we're going to pay for that by inflicting harm on hundreds of thousands of other people, millions of other people. And really, at the end of the day, like, giving these people who we discard as lazy the freedom to explore the world around them safely, without the arrangement being a selling of themselves into a market dominated by billionaires, can open things up and open opportunities for them. That we know that our kind of insufficient welfare system does give people who are otherwise impoverished an opportunity to improve themselves and educate themselves and move forward. And by removing the trap, the welfare trap, people can jump forward. And so I just really do wish that we would stop caring so much about the person who's going to stay on the couch and care far more about the person who's living on the street. And hopefully we can get to a point where we begin to accept that, like, if the laziness line was true, like, then that is all the people would do after they finish their day selling themselves to a capitalist market. But that's not what happens, right? Volunteer service exists. Why are people volunteering? Why are people going out and spending their time on volunteer services, right? According to this sort of false ethos, they should just go home and sit on a couch, right? But that's not what happens. And for this small percentage of people who are already doing that, I just don't think it's valuable. I just don't think it's worth destroying the entire process because there are these people who, at the end of the day, are just kind of, wasting their own time. And perhaps even aren't even wasting their own time, but are struggling in their own way to deal with themselves. So I think we need to do away with this "won't people just be lazy." There are plenty of activities that exist in our society that are non-essential, and yet we completely support them, all in. Nobody suggests that we shouldn't. And just because people want to spend more time doing things that you personally don't consider valuable, doesn't mean that they don't consider it valuable. Doesn't mean that the people who are around them don't consider it valuable. And I hope that we can move forward into a more civil society, and detach ourselves more from this billionaire-dominated market, and start to focus instead on relationships that go outside of that enforced relationship. Anyway, I think that's this video for today, guys. I hope you're doing well out there. Have fun. Hug the people you're near. Good luck.